another extraordinary book. I mean, you had the access to, I mean, you've done Steve Jobs, of course, Henry Kissinger, Walter, Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci. So your range is amazing. So congratulations on that. You had unprecedented access to Elon Musk, spending nearly 2 years following him about AI. You write, quote, AI was the biggest storm brewing, and there was no one more attracted to a storm than Musk. But you expressed major concerns about AI, or he did from the beginning. So talk to me about that, and then we'll get into some of the other.
That was from just a few months ago. As I was finishing the reporting on the book, he said, come back to Austin. I got to talk to you about something, and we have to do it in person. And it was because he felt that there was a storm, a safety storm on AI, and he wanted to jump in. Ever since he was a kid and he was reading Isaac Asimov robot stories, he's been worried that the robots would turn against us. And that's why he formed OpenAI with Sam Altman, who was at the hearing with him. But then they had a falling out because he felt Sam Altman was closing it a bit. And so Musk is now starting his own AI company. But what he believes, and you kind of heard him say, but we lost a little of that with the sound, is there's just got to be a regulatory agency. I mean, he's not somebody who loves regulations, but he deals with the FAA, the FCC, the Highway Transportation Safety Board, and he feels there should be an agency that's of experts that tries to regulate AI in the future.
And at one point, you write that Musk told you that he should be focused on AI instead of buying Twitter, now called X, telling you, quote, I don't know why I did it. The judge basically said that I have to buy Twitter or else, and now I'm like, okay, X would have been deleted. So he had said he wanted to help democracy and free speech. You suggest the reason is a lot more personal.
Yeah, did he want to buy Twitter? He does it on an impulse. Last April, he's on vacation, sort of, or he's in Hawaii, and he just sort of blusters into this because he loves the product. And people say, well, does he really want to do it? It's like, well, some mornings he did, other days he was really upset and tried to fight having to go through with the deal. But in the end, there were multiple reasons that he got excited about owning Twitter. One is that 20 years ago, he started XAI, which was something that morphed into PayPal, but it was going to be a payment system connected to a social network. That's why he's renamed Twitter X. He wants that. He also had moved his politics a bit. He had a daughter who had transitioned, and he felt she had become Marxist and very anti his wealth. And he felt that somehow or another Twitter had gone too far to the left, which, you be the judge of that. But there were many reasons at the time he decided he had to go through with the Twitter deal. But to get back to AI, one of the things that Twitter has is one of the biggest data flows of the hive mind of humanity, like 1 billion tweets a week, that can be used to train these AI systems of what lingo are people using, what are people thinking. All of that is, as he put it, a little something extra he got when he bought Twitter, is it can be a training ground for AI systems.
Well, also from your book, you wrote that Twitter has many of the attributes of a schoolyard, including taunting and bullying. But in the case of Twitter, the clever kids win followers rather than get pushed down the concrete steps. And if you're the richest and the cleverest of all, you can even decide, unlike back when you were a kid, to become king of the schoolyard. So that gives you a real perspective on the personality and the psyche there. Right?
Well, yeah, I think he was bullied on the schoolyard, and so many people around him say, in some ways, whenever something bad happens to him, it takes him back to those horrible days on the schoolyard. And in some ways, this is the biggest playground around. It's a global playground, and he's turned it into a more contentious place, place with a lot more speech that's on the fringe and fettered. And that's the type of person he is.
Walter, just yesterday, Vladimir Putin was praising Elon Musk as a, quote, talented businessman and an outstanding person. But Musk's ties to Putin have certainly raised concerns in Washington and other capitals, right?
Yeah. When Russia invaded Ukraine, all the communication systems were knocked out. Viasat, the commercial satellites, the military satellites. The only one that existed was Starlink, and he rushed in because he sort of has this, I'm going to try to be a savior complex, in support of the Ukrainians. They would have been wiped out early on if they hadn't been able to communicate with their troops. So he really rushed in on that side. At a certain point, they were conducting a secret attack on Crimea, and he decided not to enable Starlink, which had already been disabled. I had said he cut it off that night. In fact, it had already been disabled, and he decided not to do it. So he's had this strange relationship, but he's not talking to Putin. He did it through the Russian ambassador.